Welcome to our midday yoga session. Now, this session today is not exactly full on yoga. This is more, I'm considering this more of a workshop because I want you to be able to tap into some tools and remind yourself. This is more of like a reminder, as well as sort of like a mini workshop about regulating your nervous system. Now, a lot of people have been talking about regulating the nervous system online, and that is one of the major things that having a yoga practice does for you. And in our community, we have our yoga nidra. It is incredible, not just for helping you regulate your nervous system, but the after effects are helping you sleep and insomnia, helping you with dealing with stress in general, right? Anxiety, depression, even. It also has some other potent properties to help you with moving through and going towards your goals, right? So we've got the restorative yoga, we've got the yoga nidra, we've got meditation here, we've got pranayamas, we've got breath work. So a lot of people have heard that when you're trying to regulate your nervous system, the things I really like to do is just sort of stroke here. It feels really nice, or sometimes you can just like stroke your thighs. It just sort of gets you grounded into your body. And so what I wanted to remind you is, one, you've got a bunch of tools already here built in our community. Two, I want to point out a few other little things that maybe you want to be able to do in the car. Maybe you want to be able to do these when you're running to, a family gathering or something with work. Maybe you're about to give a presentation. Maybe you're going to be doing some networking. Maybe you're just doing something different. Maybe you're starting a new job and you're just feeling not quite yourself. So I want to talk about a few different things. So number one, pranayama, breath work, right? It is such a science in and of itself. And so as you just simply focus on breathing deeply, breathing all the way deep into the diaphragm, exhaling fully, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, right? Simply that, when you bring yourself to a really nice full breath, it slows things down. So please always remember you have your breath. Now, in this community, we also do the science of pranayama. So we have other breath patterns and other ways in which we use our breath to create other energetic impacts, right? So if we're trying to cool our bodies down, we do our certain breath work. If we're trying to get some energy, we do a specific kind of breath work. If we're trying to calm and relax, we usually do a longer exhale. So tapping into these resources that are within our community, I want to encourage you to do that. But you've heard a lot about breath work, and I just want to encourage you to try to bring that into a habit. So let's say that you're in the car and you're feeling really anxious. Maybe there's a lot of traffic. Maybe you're running late. Maybe someone cut you off, right? Bringing that breath in. Okay, that's always going to be really helpful, right? Now, another thing that isn't something that we necessarily talk about in our yoga classes, but something that I would talk with clients about one-on-one, would be about your interaction with whatever. So if you're noticing your nervous system is feeling dysregulated, maybe you're starting to feel really panicked, maybe you're feeling really hot suddenly, maybe you're feeling like you are going to be really impulsive, get really angry, have something happen. I want you to think about taking a pause, which can feel really difficult. But imagine that as you're starting to feel these sensations in your body, right? Hot, maybe you're sweating, maybe you're starting to tense up, right? You feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start blowing a fuse or have a panic. Or I want you to notice these things as they're happening. And acknowledging them first is a huge step in starting to regulate your system. So acknowledging that it's happening. But I will tell you, no matter what, with anything, when we're talking about healing ourselves and our bodies, acknowledging it really is that first step. It's like scratching the surface. And it can feel frustrating because you figure, oh, if I can at least acknowledge it, then I shouldn't even have to be dealing with it. So I want you to give yourself a lot of grace and compassion. If you are experiencing it, acknowledge it, but don't think that suddenly everything should be hunky dory, right? That everything should be great. Instead, I want you to acknowledge it, and then I want you to take a breath. And I want you to pause. So pause. What do I mean by pause? There's a lot of different ways that you could approach this, but let's just say you're interacting with something. Maybe you're even really stressed out. You got an email and it's driving you crazy. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my boss or this coworker or whatever. Or maybe it's an email from, your child's school or whatever. And you start to like have your heart starts to race. You're feeling maybe even chest palpitations. You're getting upset. I want you to pause. So you might decide to breathe. You might decide to count for 30 to 90 seconds just to sort of bring down that whipped up energy, that vata energy that comes into play. And as you're counting to the 30 or 90 seconds, you're imagining yourself calming down. You're imagining yourself getting grounded. You're imagining yourself handling this well. And you're breathing. Now, the other step may be you might need, when we talk about space and that pause, you might need actual physical space. Let's say you walk into a certain environment and it's too much. You may need to back out of that environment, really start doing your breath work, preparing for what you're going to do, realizing that maybe you needed to do that in advance, and it's okay that you didn't, giving yourself grace and compassion, and then making your way into that environment. Or let's say there's a lot happening in your home and people are upset. Maybe someone's screaming or yelling. Maybe you have a child who has an outburst and you're just feeling like you've had enough that day. You don't want to deal with it. You might need to remove yourself from the environment for a minute to create safety for everyone so that you don't feel like you're going to blow a fuse. You don't feel like you're going to break down. You don't feel frozen, right? So allowing yourself that space, whether it's the environment, whether it's giving yourself a little bit of extra time. So I want you to consider that. Now, there are a few things, there's a lot of things that you can also do lifestyle, diet-wise. So I'm just going to pop a few ideas out here, and I'm going to recommend a few of the books that I like. Again, this is something that I would work with one-on-one with my clients specifically, but I would recommend, adaptogens, right? So you could get an adaptogen tea or a supplement or a tincture, right? There's a lot of different ways in which you could bring adaptogens in. You might want to start considering looking at your B vitamins. They are the stress vitamins. B6 particularly can really help with anxiety, or some zinc to help regulate your nervous system and any anxious feelings, right? There might be, you might be working on reducing your caffeine intake, right? So maybe as you're working on helping your sleep system, you might be working on reducing your caffeine, but maybe one day you had too much, and you might notice your nervous system flaring, right? So you might want to reduce the caffeine in your diet, or anything else that sort of maybe has you feeling jittery. Like if there's something that you drink, maybe you even only drink tea, but maybe it's black tea, or maybe even just you drink a lot of tea and it's affecting your nervous system. So you have a lot of different things you can look at. So I'm just going to give you a couple of recommendations of some books that you could explore. There's obviously thousands of books on these topics. These ones I feel are really digestible, and I feel like they've been really helpful. So one is called The Mood Cure by Julia Ross. She also has a number of other books. I think she's got maybe a total of 3. Very great, very wonderful books. Actually, this book changed my life when it came to my mood. I read that book when I was like 26, and it changed everything. Then there's Depression Free Naturally by Joan Matthews Larson. And then another one is Healthy Digestion the Natural Way. This is a great, easy book to work with. It's D. Lindsay Berkson. And these books I recommend because they're really digestible, they're really easy to comprehend and understand and why, and they give you some good basic protocols. But again, your diet and lack of nutrients and absorption, gut health is so important with your brain health. And if things are feeling dysregulated with your gut health, your brain, like it's going to be hard for you to feel balanced. So again, work with people one-on-one on those sorts of things. But those books are great resources for you to get started, and maybe even for you to sort of clean the slate and come back to, okay, so what are maybe the most important things for me? Because some of us have way too much information. There's so much information in my head about what I could or should be doing, and it overwhelms you. Always coming back to the most simple, back to the basics, creating a foundation that's super helpful to help you get more grounded, bring more vibrant health. So again, we could talk specifically just about changing diets and certain nutrients and absorption and gut and mind, but those are things that you can explore. So basics, right? Adaptogens, your stress vitamins. There's a lot of great herbs that are really good for reducing your stress. Rhodiola is a great one, chamomile, skullcap. There's just so many out there that could be really beneficial. It just depends. So back to other things that you can do that are quick, that are easy, that shouldn't be too complicated to do would be stretching, right? So in our yoga classes, we're moving our bodies. So when you wake up in the morning, even just giving yourself 1 or 2 really good stretches can be really helpful on setting the tone for the day, setting the nervous system. Another thing that can be really good would be, laying on your back in Shavasana, pressing into the floor and really getting connected, or pressing against a wall and feeling that connection. It can really relax you. Again, see, this is one that I've been practicing with a lot. Really feels good. I love the way it feels. There's another one where it's sort of like a butterfly technique. You can just relax. I've been doing this a lot. So now it's becoming sort of a habit. I just do it. It makes me feel more relaxed, more in my body. So, so yes, we've got awareness. You can push against a wall. You can do stretching in the morning, or just stretching when you feel like you need to get back into your body and out of your head. Other wonderful ways of doing this would be any kind of movement that you really enjoy. So maybe it would be dancing. Maybe it would be, just running around or walk outdoors, hike, moving your body, breathing in fresh air. That is going to really help your nervous system, right? Just being in the elements, maybe the sunshine, maybe being, walking in greenery is going to just have a different effect on how you're doing in your body. Another thing that you can do is be listening to a certain kind of music that you really enjoy. I always look up like study music. I have a playlist that's called study music. I just love it. I also have different kinds of music depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm doing. If I'm trying to feel really nice and relaxed, but I'm trying to be focused, I really like that study music. If I'm trying to be really relaxed and just maybe be doing some yoga on my own, or maybe I want to be doing some journaling, then I like to listen sometimes to more meditative or chanting music. So whatever works for you, notice how it impacts your whole body, right? So again, if we notice ourselves tensing up, if we notice ourselves feeling sweaty, feeling hot, just feeling anxious, if our mind starts to race, if we're feeling like the world is closing in on us, we are probably not going to be at our best, right? We're not going to be able to focus, we're not going to be clear. So when you're noticing those things that are happening physically, allow yourself to take that pause and start doing a number of these things. Meditation is obviously going to be extremely helpful, and I would recommend going the most simple route again. So if you start to feel anxious of the idea of meditation, what if you just meditated for 1 minute? What if you meditated for 2 minutes, right? Take the pressure off on having to do anything perfectly. Just know that you're still going to get a benefit. And this will help you. Now, if you already have a meditation practice and maybe you have fallen out of it, getting back into it can feel a little daunting. So again, just what if you just tried for 2 to 5 minutes to start? Just said, I'm going to do this, right when I'm doing my tea in the morning, or my coffee in the morning, or my water, whatever it is. Giving yourself just a few moments to cultivate how do I really want to feel in my body. So meditation, chanting, doodling can also really relax you. Being creative, right? It helps you get into your body. We talked about getting embodied, right? So like moving in a way that makes you feel really good. Maybe it's belly dancing. Right? Maybe it's just doing some sort of form of exercise that feels really good and helps you get into your body. Maybe it's a gentle form, right? It doesn't have to be, I'm going to go do CrossFit and be really intense. That might actually just stress your body. Well, most likely it will stress your body, especially while you're doing it. The after effects can be really good, depending. But like a nice, gentle form of exercise. So walking, dancing, maybe doing like a Zumba class or something that makes you feel really good and doesn't stress you out. So another thing that would be really great for you to consider would be orgasms, pleasure. The more that you allow your body to connect to its innate desires in a loving way, the more that's going to relax and reduce your stress and your entire nervous system, right? But anytime something feels too much, that's not going to be the right choice. Think of this as a menu, right? You get to pick and choose what sounds really good to you on helping your body, your mind relax. So here's what I want to encourage you to consider. And we've talked about this in other areas in the community, but I want you to consider what is something, like maybe I want to do a few kinds of stretches every morning for just, again, 2 minutes. I'm going to commit to that for 40 days. And then maybe some days you do stretching for 5 minutes. Some days maybe you do an entire yoga practice. Maybe some days, you do it multiple times in the day. 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 2 minutes, Allow yourself to take the pressure off, but choose 1 or 2 things and say, I'm going to commit to these things. And I'm going to stay disciplined in knowing that if I continue to focus on my breath every day, I know it's going to have a positive impact, right? So you can go into our meditation section, you can pick a meditation, you can go into the pranayama, the breath section, pick a breath pattern. You can do one of the classes or pick and choose from within a class that we've done in the past. If you want to go back into your practice journal and say, oh, I really like doing the buzzing bee breath. That made me feel really quiet. I have a nice feeling in the body. Or, it's been so hot this summer and I've been feeling really hot and I need to cool down. I'm going to do the, inhaling through the teeth, exhaling through the nose, right? Or inhaling through the pursed lips and exhaling through the nose. These are these different options that allow you to have that energetic shift. So you'll be relaxing your nervous system, but also impacting and gathering another benefit. Maybe the Nadi Shodhana, so alternate nostril breathing. No way is going to be the perfect way that everyone needs to do. I just want to encourage you to pick something and stick with it and see the overall outcome that you gain from doing it for a sustained period of time. So this 40-day practice, as you can imagine, and we've talked about in the past, 40 days is a great number. Now, habit change, I like to talk about this with my one-on-one clients. Habit change is a little bit different, right? We've all sort of grown up believing, most of us anyway, is that if you can do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. That isn't exactly true. There are different ways in which creating a behavior can become seated and become something that you will actually do. And it's not just because you do it every day, it's because you've woven it in at a place and a time that's strategic so that you are able to just have a trigger going, oh, right, every time I brush my teeth, I floss. I do those two things together. Or every time I brush my teeth, I do 6 squats. Okay. Or every time I'm waiting for the coffee maker, I meditate for that time. Or you're allowing there to be a trigger to help remind you to do the behavior. And then you also have to allow yourself to feel really good about making that effort each time. So even if you're doing something, if you diminish your efforts, it's likely that you won't be able to sustain the habit. So if you want to learn more about habit change, I have a whole class and a workbook that goes with it. You can get it right off my website, or you aren't familiar and you can't find it, go ahead and send me a direct message through the community and I will point you to it. But generally, when you hop on my website, it says, hey, if you want to learn about the gifts of simple like change goal setting or something like that. And this is really paramount when we're coming to terms with having vibrant health, having an active, soulful connection with whatever is out there, because we are creating these habits and connections. And just getting to that point can be really difficult. So moving through that whole process can help you. But again, before you even, have that weigh on your heart and give that just another something to do, reminding yourself that if you keep it small, keep it simple, but stay consistent, you're going to have great results. You're going to have great outcomes. There's going to be a huge transformation as long as you allow yourself to have that consistency. Those rituals, those routines, they will have an impact. So today, going through this list, right? There's so many other things. There's the idea of you can even ice yourself, right? You can ice your chest, and that impacts your vagus nerve. You could do cold showers, right? Because that again is something that will stimulate your system so that you can start to relax. It doesn't feel relaxing at first. Sometimes these things that ultimately help you feel more regulated and relaxed, they might feel awkward, they might feel uncomfortable. But as you build that connection to these things, like even doing breath work, for some reason, it could at first challenge you and it doesn't feel good in the moment. But the after effects likely will keep you coming back to stretching yourself, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, to do the things that you know feel best. So I want you to think of this time today in our midday mindful yoga session. I want this to encourage you to pick one, maybe 2 things that you want to do over the next 40 days in service to regulating yourself so that you can feel better in your body, better about who you are. You can feel more relaxed and less impulsive and less reactive, right? Because a lot of times reactivity or responding too quickly can result in a backfire of what you actually want. So when you're able to come to things from more of an even, calm, peaceful place, this impacts every part of your life. So I'd love to hear from you, maybe what one thing you want to practice over the next month, and maybe it's none of these things, right? But maybe you have one or two things that you really want to do, and I would love to hear from you every day in the community. Hey, I did it. Wonderful. Let's celebrate you. I do not want you to feel like you have to go this alone. This is the whole point of having our community is you can come in there and you can say, hey, I did it. And you get witnessed. And I know it feels scary to come in and share. It's very vulnerable. But you are welcome to take up space. You are welcome to be witnessed. You are welcome to say, hey, it's been really hard. I've been feeling really impatient with my children. And oh, we understand. We can relate. Yes. Oh my gosh, that would be so hard. So proud of you. Are you feeling proud of yourself for taking those 3 breaths every day, for giving yourself space, for allowing yourself to have that time to move your body, get centered? So that is our session today. Please bring any comments, any questions, any recommendations that you have found extremely helpful in regulating yourself. We would like to hear it. Oh, for some reason I'm being reminded of another thing that helps regulate. We are not going into every little facet, but I really love 2 different things that I use. And these ones I don't necessarily use daily anymore, but I was using them daily for quite some time. But one is called EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique, or tap. So if you want to learn more about EFT, you can certainly reach out to me. Again, I work with clients one-on-one, and I help them build an EFT routine. So you can explore EFT. Another thing would be havening. So havening is very similar to what I was doing here. And just relax by bringing the arms down from the shoulders. You can maybe go all the way down to the wrist, or just even on the arms. And just, it's like you're giving yourself a hug. It's like you're giving yourself that connection, that assurance. And there's just something about being physically touched. So yes, you could go get a massage. Yes, you could roll out or use a massage, like a massager. But there's something about actual physical touch, right? That can just be so deeply nourishing. I would recommend trying it. Again, you can just sit there and be just sitting, maybe reviewing an email, and just give yourself a couple little, I wouldn't really even call this rubbing, but just like drawing the arms down. Just a couple times, see how it feels, maybe try it again. Again, when people notice us doing things, sometimes it can feel a little awkward. But I'm just going to encourage you, like, there is awkwardness when we're doing anything. There's definitely awkwardness when we're doing something that is really good for us, that can challenge other people in their lack of doing it. This happens all the time when you're changing, when you're growing. I'm going to give you a little side note, even though we're going to wrap up. And the side note is this: like, when I was changing my diet, I was eating a lot of green soup. I made a lot of green soup and pureed them. I thought they were just delicious. And everyone who saw my lunch would comment. Everyone who saw these different things that I was bringing, seaweeds and all that, like, people just were weirded out, / they were feeling triggered and challenged because they didn't have within them the ability yet to make changes. So their instinct and their reaction and the impulse for them was just to be like, no, I don't want, like, no, that's gross. I don't want to do that. Ew, why are you doing that? Why are you doing something so different from everyone else, right? And who knows why people feel the need to do that? Who knows why they need to tell you that they would never do it, or that they think that's gross, but it's definitely could be some awkwardness. I just want to encourage you so that you know that can happen. It can totally happen. But remember, it's more about them than it is about you. It's more about them than it is about you. Just because you may be feeling like you are on the receiving end of it which again can feel very dysregulating, is I want you to know it really is more about where they're at than it has anything to do with you. All right, so today, again, just encouraging you to take care of yourself, to allow it to be simple, but to do it. I want to be as helpful as I can inside the community. Always welcome to send me a message in there. You're welcome to post in there. We want to be here to support each other. I know we do. That's why we're here. So I want to encourage you to do it. I'm sending you guys so much love. I'm so thankful that you're here. I just want to encourage you to take action. Because taking action is where the healing really takes place. But it is tough. So again, so much love. Thank you for being with me today. And we will talk inside our nurtured community.